So now we're going to start to pull in some pitch and generate some lift, so you're going to feel us start to begin to get light on our skid. So I'm doing that with a stick in my left hand called the collective. So just increasing the pitch or the angle of both main rotor blades, inducing flow down through the rotor system. Once we have enough to lift off, then with the stick in my right hand, the cyclic, we're just finding a neutral position. So we're vectoring that thrust straight down while we go straight up. We'll get up here above all our obstacles. So above the building, above the power lines. Now we're going to tilt the rotor disc forward, take all that vertical lift, turn it into forward flight, and off we go. We're flying. All right, now we're going to climb up to between 300 and 500 feet over the ground, and for most of our trip, we're going to be cruising at a speed of around 100 miles per hour. That'll be indicated here in the top left-hand corner of the GPS. So right now, already over 70 miles an hour. It's just never going to feel quite as fast as that indicates, because the higher above the ground we travel, the further away our points of reference are, and the slower everything will appear to us. So right now, 90 miles an hour, but because we're just about 300 feet over the ridge as we come over this ridge line, it doesn't feel that fast at all. Now we're also going to feel the effects of the wind. As the air warms up, it starts to move around, and we feel heavy in our seat, we're getting an updraft. Light in our seat, we're getting a downdraft. Then the occasional little head shake back and forth is going to be a change in wind direction. So it's kind of like being in a boat and going through some waves, only a little more exciting because we can't see the waves coming, so we can't really brace ourselves. All right, now in front of us, we're starting to see the end of what was called the Royal Gorge fire. So this would have burned from our right to our left. Just over that ridge line, they were able to contain it. And this actually started over on the south side of the Royal Gorge. That all used to be juniper forest. Crossed over just west of the bridge, burned down 48 of 52 structures at the park and 3,000 acres. So below, as you can see, Canyon City's made the most of it. A lot of this was their property. They've chipped up a lot of these trees. They've done a lot of seeding, planting of wildflowers, building of these nice non-motorized vehicle trails. So really nice forest floor, but it's going to take a long time for those trees to come back, probably about 50 years or so.
How big is it?
What's that?
How big is it?
It was 3,000 acres. So pretty big. All right, now we're coming up over the Royal Gorge. Now, we're starting our tour in between the canyon and the gorge sections here. Now, the difference between those sections are the dimensions. So a canyon is wider than it is deep, and a gorge is deeper than it is wide. So even though it's all called the Royal Gorge, it's actually both features. You see beautiful spires over here, a lot of great color change. And down in the bottom of the gorge in the canyon is the Arkansas River, right now flowing pretty well, about 500 cubic feet per second. So it's a really nice fast-paced Class 3, Class 4 rapids. Now, it's called the Arkansas River because that's where it ends. So it starts here in Colorado, but it flows down across the country where it outlets into the Mississippi River in Arkansas. So they just got to it first and named it, and everyone upstream was stuck with their name. Now in front of us, we can start to see a forest fire that was just recently put out. This was about 3 weeks ago they put it out. So kept it to 300 acres. There are 2 tanker planes working the ridge line. You can see where you saw that red up here from the slurry drops. And then 2 helicopters working this ridge line down below us. So really good by those guys to keep it to just this ridge, because there's a lot of really dry forest out to our south and to our west. All right, now as we get turned around, we're looking out over Canyon City. Did you guys notice all the prisons that are out there? There's actually 11 of them. So there's 7 state and 4 federal penitentiaries. So I'm going to have you let go of that one. That's our door handle. There you go. And if you need something to hold on to, you can just kind of grab the side of your seat right here. There we go. Yeah, there we go.
Sorry about that. I couldn't grab the door.
Yeah. Door opening. I don't think it'd fly off there, but it might. All right. So 7 state and 4 federal penitentiaries out there. So a lot of the folks around here work for the Department of Corrections in one way or another. We actually use this helicopter on occasion to assist those folks. If there's ever an escape, this is a pretty useful tool to go and catch them. All right, now as we get turned around, this is one of my favorite views of the bridge, the gorge, the canyon. It's just a beautiful layering effect that takes place between us and the bridge itself. And you'll see all this nice red iron oxide rock in the canyon wall. That's all the red stuff. You'll see some stripes, some swirls. Those are called striations. A little bit of volcanic rock towards the bottom. So it's just a big mix of different era of rock pushed up on end and then cracked wide open. So this is essentially just a big crack that happened right through the middle of this mountain. And that's different than a lot of other gorges and canyons around the country that are created through erosion, where it would just be a river that would carve something like this out. All right, so now we're going to start to crawl up over the south rim of the Royal Gorge before it gets too deep and deep below. So a really unique view of the bridge over to our right. Kind of looks like their billboard from over here. Get A lot of updrafts right off of this ridgeline, kind of like a natural wind elevator. And then as we start to see the south side, we're going to see where most of the forest fire took place. 2,000 to the 3,000 acres burned down right over here. So a lot of open field. Again, this is a Canyon City property, so they've done a good job of chipping up a lot of these trees, doing a lot of seeding. So this is a big hit for all the large game, kind of like a big feed field for them.
How big is it?
The gorge
Yeah.
is 6 miles long from east to west. At its deepest, right over here off at this point to our right, it's 1,300 feet deep. The bridge is 955 feet tall, and that actually made it the tallest bridge in the world all the way through 2001, tallest suspension bridge through 2003, and now it's down into the top 4 worldwide. So now that list goes China, Russia, China again, and then the Royal Gorge Bridge here at number 4, but it still is the tallest suspension bridge in the Americas. And when you put it in that list, you have to just kind of plug in that 955-foot number because it's not listed as a traffic bridge, and most of those lists are just comprised of traffic bridges. So steel suspended frame, over 1,200 wood boards make up the decking surface. It's 1,295 feet across, 18 feet wide. It has a capacity of over 20,000 tons, so you can line trucks up on it, you know, end to end, but they leave it open as a footbridge because it is only 18 feet wide. Really don't want to send a car across there in the busy part of the day. All right, just because you'd have a lot of run-over tow claims, so it's pretty much insurance driven. You know, you have people trying to take a picture from their car, and then people taking a picture while they're standing out there, and you're more likely to get bumped or run over, and then they'd have an insurance claim on their hands. So just to avoid that whole mess. Although right when COVID first hit this county, they left it open to only road traffic over here. All right, now we're making our way upstream on the Arkansas River. So even though we have 500 cubic feet per second rate of flow through the rest of it, through this section it's a little more narrow, so it increases that flow rate. So we get up to about 1,000 cubic feet per second today. So a nice Class 3, Class 4 rapids over through here. I also see a set of railroad tracks next to the river. That's home to a tour train that pretty much has this to themselves, with the exception of the occasional gravel car that comes out from that gravel quarry. But the original track here was actually part of the Transcontinental Railway system. So we did have passenger cars using this as a throughway through Colorado from the 1890s all the way through the 1980s. After the 1980s, air travel took over. Faster track was utilized out around the mountain, so a lot of this track out west of that gravel pit is actually just overgrown and abandoned. All right, now we're going to continue our turn around here and go back downstream. Now below us you'll see another forest fire. So this was the burn scar from the 2010, it was called Parkdale Canyon Fire. It was actually the tour train that set it. So as the train came up around the corner, they burned through their spark arrestor, and just a couple little sparks coming up out of their stack was enough to burn down 800 acres. So any little thing could start a fire around here. We saw the lightning strike fire at the beginning. The Royal Gorge fire here that crossed over was a cigarette butt flicked out of a window. All right, as we make our way down here, it looks like there's some people exploring some of the old aqueduct that was there. That's that little cutout. These supply water up to the bridge. There's kind of a boat that's hanging out there too. It looks like somebody probably came over and hit a rock, so hopefully everyone's okay down there. Now in front of us, we'll start to see what looks like a little porch structure sitting on the end of that rock. That used to be a little mini train that would run you out to this overlook and back. That was sold to a private collector in 2009, now being converted into a boardwalk. But if we look over that, we're seeing the deepest and the narrowest section of the Royal Gorge. It's only 40 feet wide down below the bridge where the railroad track crosses, but it's 1,200 feet tall all the way up to their overlook. So because it's so tall yet so narrow, but with easy access, that's why we're able to have the tallest bridge in the world for as long as we did. Plus, not everyone builds a bridge just to have one like we did over here at the Royal Gorge. Usually there's like a big civil purpose involved. All right, we're gonna come right up next to this bird. He's pretty brave. We're like 100 times bigger than him. He's just hanging out there. All right, now we're coming up over the new visitor center. Now this replaced the old visitor center, which was like a courtyard setting of about 30 different buildings. Some of them there even before the bridge was built in the 20s, so a little bit of sentimental loss there. Overall, a nicer facility. This new gondola-style tram replaced an old steel tram. This is a much more efficient mover of people. They added a zip line across here, guided rock climb right down below us. Amphitheater, children's play center, little barbecue place. Now surviving the fire was this big pole structure. That's a big aerial swing. and the theater. That's
That was
the white
fun.
group.
We went on that.
Oh yeah, how was it?
We went many years ago. It was fun.
Yeah, they built that in 2001. So not a lot to burn there. So that was pretty fireproof. Now, did you also go on the incline here?
We've been on everything.
Yeah. So
helicopter.
unfortunately,
Not me.
unfortunately, that incline was taken out by the fire. The vegetation underneath it caught fire, and so it melted and warped a lot of the steel track, broke a lot of those concrete footers. So they are going to replace it eventually, but the bids have come in around $10 million to today's standards. So, didn't really get $10 million back from something built in 1931. So they're going to have to save their pennies a little bit. Once they do, though, we're very excited to see where they go with the rest of the park, because that'll open up some doors for zip line platforms to the bottom, rappels, rock climbs, continue to add some more action adventure type activities up here. Until this year with COVID hitting, we're seeing record attendance every single year. So hopefully, unless there's a COVID-21, we'll be okay. All right, now descending, getting a little bit of a right quarter tailwind, going 124 miles per hour. We're going to keep that descent rate and speed all the way down over the zipline course. Looks like we're almost no wind to speak of over there, so we'll go in for a straight in approach. Maybe a little east wind. What do you guys think of the helicopter?
It's great. This is faster than the one we were on the last time.
Yeah, was it the...
It was red in 2004.
Yeah, so that's a 1985 Long Ranger. And that thing, a little bit slower. And then Mike Pond was the operator. He was a Vietnam vet.
Oh, okay.
So he had it from 1990 to 2010.
Tell he was a Vietnam vet by the way he flew. It was great.
Yes. He was born and bred that way. That's the way he learned how to fly from flight school on, and that's just the way he flew.
There's a fire somewhere in here?
It was over by the Royal Gorge, yeah. And then we have a lot of fires in this area. This year we had that YMCA fire.
Yeah.
That was just 3 weeks ago that they put that one out.
How big?
That one was just 300 acres. So really good job by those forest fires. We had a little bit of rain to help them out too. Towards the end, it was able to put it all the way out, but mostly it was the tanker planes that really held it to the top of that ridge, laying down that slurry. Now that one could have got out of hand. That could have been 3,000 to 5,000 acres in a hurry if it was allowed to continue. So very happy they got it out. And another great thing, whoever was running that air attack, they call it, that's the fire command from the air, allowed us to fly during the flight restriction over there.
Oh.
We called them and they said, yeah, we want you to continue to fly. So just call us every morning. We'll let you know when we're operating and where we want you. So it was really good by them.
Mark, how was your flight?
What do you think?
Mark,
Yeah, good.
You like it?
like that?
I've not been there for a long time.
It truly is like being a bird for a little while. I just love it.